Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fox 10 Talks Wednesday afternoon. I'm Brian Webb, Trenton Hooker, Ashley DeWeza here to talk about the weather. Yes. Michael Obie, watch out for him. If you're going to join us on YouTube, we'd love to hear your comments. Should we start with the weather? Lots going on today, huh?
A lot going on. And obviously, we want to talk about the White Sage Fire and rain that could potentially be moving through. That could be helpful. It's kind of a damned if we do, damned if we don't situation, right? Because we need the rain, but also when it comes to storms, that could also bring in the gusty outflow of winds and also lightning. Okay, right. So this is what we're looking at right now. If we could pull up that radar, you can see a lot of that moisture is centered across the high country. We'll zoom in just a little bit, but I do want to highlight Antelope Creek Basin under some flash flood warnings for right now. You can see as we zoom that in, a lot of moisture, life-threatening, heavy downpour of rains, and even quite a bit of lightning activity as well. Along really north of Flagstaff, we're also seeing that activity happening. Really outside of the fire line, though, things are still on the drier end. However, as the atmosphere destabilizes, we could potentially later on tonight see some of that rain push through. But right now what we're seeing is a little bit on the drier end. Gusty winds, though, that's going to be a bit of a concern for us here up north. Now, taking it further south across our desert areas, right now we've been seeing just some light precipitation towards Maricopa, Pinal counties. However, later on tonight, there could be the potential for some passing showers that could reach us. However, today it's been a little bit on the cloudier side. We've had that cloud deck. We've had those cooler temperatures. Normally, we need to have things warm up for us a little bit. So later on tonight, really, I'm going to say after that 9 o'clock hour, we may see what could be potentially a scattered shower or two. But shower potential for the White Sage Fire in particular, again, we could see that later on tonight, maybe as early as that 6 o'clock hour, I'll say. But you can see for the rest of the week, we are still seeing some shower and thunderstorm potential. Of course, winds are going to be a cause for concern. They could reach as high as close to 30 miles an hour. So really just moving those embers through. So that's definitely a cause for concern. But as far as just temperatures go, you can see right there, we do have towards the Grand Canyon 81 degrees. Dew points, by the way, even here across the valley, because we are looking at that chance for some rain, and we always love to see it. They're looking pretty reasonable and acceptable when it comes to those conditions. But taking just a look at that future cast, we're going to start to see some more rain potential for the next coming days across the line of the fires. So fingers crossed that can help that situation. But of course, we're keeping close tabs when it comes to what else can happen. The gusty winds, the cloud to ground lightning, that is always something that we need to keep our eyes on. You can already see the outflow of those winds as well.
So are we going to get some dust with this outflow tonight?
Yeah, we certainly could, especially when we're tracking those winds coming in from the south and east. Yesterday here in the valley, we did have that dust advisory later on in the evening, so that could potentially be the case as well here. And also for the high country, just those winds, okay? Those winds, major playing factor when it comes to today.
Well, I saw the alerts go off last night that you were going over, and I was like, dust, 8, 9 o'clock, we need to watch visibility on the road. I mean, that's Arizona for you anytime.
Arizona for sure. And I know it's really exciting for me too, because, I'm coming from, California and Washington, where we got our own different weather situations. And so I'm coming here in Arizona. I've never before been through a dust storm. So this is all new for me and really exciting. But of course, it could come with its dangers as well.
Some of the storms look literally biblical, like when they're coming in, they're like, I remember the first time I saw the one, and I think it remains the biggest one since I've been around, and it is just like, like you're watching a movie, and it just envelops the entire city and just is like, wow, what's next? The locust plague or what's going on here?
Gosh.
But anyway, the rain thing is tricky up at the Grand Canyon fires, right? Because I'm no expert, you are, but is it enough to dampen the fire versus the wind and the dry conditions? I mean, those are pretty strong conditions. It's a little rainstorm, depending on how big it is and how widespread it is it really going to help at all?
I wouldn't say it's not going to help, obviously contain the fire. We may have some brief and heavy downpours, but just, as we've seen for the last several days, just the magnitude and size of this fire. I'm not going to say that the the rain is going to potentially really relieve those conditions. But I mean, any rain that we can get, that will certainly help those fire crews out there. But of course, it's those winds that are going to be something of a concern.
And I see that we do have some updated acreage on the Dragon Bravo fire. It's more than 11,000 acres right now.
Yeah.
And I know also compared to yesterday, this time I think there was like 393 personnel that were responding to it, and that's gone to more than 500 today. So they're definitely just ramping up those efforts to try to, block it where it's at.
And the White Sage is bigger, but the Dragon Bravo is more destructive. Am I right?
Well, yeah. Well, the definitely with the White Sage fire, I know that there is some containment in that one. I believe it's at 3 or 4%. Last check this morning, but it definitely did slow down the last 48 hours with its acreage. I mean, there was some growth in the destruction, but they definitely have been making some progress on that one, which is good news.
And when they say containment, it's my recollection that they mean they feel like they have established a perimeter of some sorts.
Yes.
And then that just counts as the big circle around it, or at least where it's heading has been cut off. So. Yeah. Some 3 or 4% doesn't sound much, but sometimes those numbers jump pretty fast throughout the day. Right,
especially when you're having days, in this case, almost a week of no containment on these fires. It's good to see a little bit of a dent in it.
Did you guys look at I saw the pictures of the Grand Canyon Lodge that was destroyed. I mean,
beautiful.
Man, just beautiful, heartbreaking.
And you've been to the Grand Canyon.
I've been to the South Rim. Which is about a 4-hour drive, and we were talking about how do you even get to the North Rim? I don't know. I don't know even after having lived here for 20 years. Michael, any chance you know how to get up that way? I mean, is it you got to go around the biggest hole in the world?
To the north side of the rim you're talking about?
And that's where it is, right? It was the Grand Canyon Lodge.
Right.
I think you got to, I don't know. I've never been to the north side, only the south side.
Yeah, it's definitely a long drive around.
And so I would assume people, clearly from more of the Utah, California would visit that lodge maybe more than Arizona. I'm just guessing.
Well, it was. I know Nicole Christine talked about this story earlier on the weekend, but it was kind of the north side's more of like the quiet resort retreat where people would go. Your tourists would go to the other side, the visitor center that's there with the national park. But the Grand Canyon Lodge, I mean, that was more of like a destination to get away from it all. Really pretty. Structures that were destroyed too. There were, some lives that were in jeopardy. They have evacuations still ongoing. No new ones, luckily, right now. But also animal life too. Pulling those animals out, dogs, cats, and I know Taylor Wirtz. She's joining us. If we could, hey Taylor.
Hey Taylor.
Yeah. I know you have a lot going on today.
Yeah, we're heading up to Flagstaff right now, Laura and I.
Awesome. Hey, Laura.
Laura Hess on the move.
Yes, she is.
So Taylor, what's this is your second trip to Flagstaff in a couple of days. It's your new beat. Always fun to go to Flag because it's cooler up there in the summer, but they're dealing with a lot up there, and I guess they're going to take in some animals from the evacuations. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So when we were up there on Saturday covering the plague, we worked with the Coconino Humane Association, and they told us they had just taken in 15 dogs that were saved from the flooding in Texas. So we are headed there right now to meet all the dogs and talk with them. I think they said that the shelter out there had to drive 14 hours, and then the Flagstaff shelter had to drive 14 hours to meet them halfway. You could see some video and pictures of those dogs. So it was a big team effort to get these dogs taken out, and that shelter in Texas sent hundreds of dogs out across the country. And so these are the ones that have entered Coconino County and are going to be ready for adoption soon. So tonight we're going to get to go meet all of them and introduce viewers to all those that are up for adoption.
That's just truly amazing. I mean, we've all watched the Texas footage and the flooding that's happened there. I mean, obviously we're dealing with our wildfires here, the East Coast getting slammed by the storms this week too. But there's these amazing little stories everywhere.
You're a dog lover.
I am a dog lover. I have a dog of myself.
Need another one?
Do I? Oh gosh, maybe 2 would be nice.
2 or 10 or 20. I know we'd all love to take them all in, but
Taylor, do you have any pets at home?
I do. I have one dog named Scarlet, and she is my baby. She is the light of my life. So I am a huge dog lover as well.
Boy, they're just, and so forgive me, I know you just said this. So are the dogs that you're going to see from Texas only, or do we have any from the evacuations in Arizona going there yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I can ask them when I'm up there, but I know for sure there are 15 from Texas, from some flooded areas that were ruled natural disaster zones. So they are really in need. And like I said, they sent hundreds of dogs out around the country. So a good 15 of them.
Do you know, Taylor, sorry to put you on the spot here, like, are these dogs found wandering around and they cannot connect them to an owner? Were they strays, or did the owner just can't take care of them right now because the owner is struggling to take care of themselves? Any of those answers popped up yet?
I don't know in this specific case, but I do know they took in a lot of dogs that were found on the streets, and then some of the owners that have lost their homes that, maybe don't want to give away their dog forever, or, just can't have their dog right now. I know they've taken in some of those in some shelters. So I'm not sure what this exact case is, but I know it's all of the above. It's people who've lost homes and can no longer care for their dogs, or maybe just need a temporary place for their dog to stay. And then there's unfortunately just a lot of animals out on the streets, with this flooding. Families are ripped apart, separated, and don't know where the other half is. And that's the case with these animals.
You never know where these weather things are going to strike, do you, Ashley? I mean,
Crazy.
just it's impossible to predict. You do your best to try to plan ahead, but who knows where the next flood's going to be? Who knows where the next wildfire is going to be?
Cherish what you have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Right.
Well, Taylor, thanks
Taylor.
for joining us. We'll see you tonight.
Safe travels.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, Ashley, thanks for coming out here. So a little bit of monsoon finally showing up, and we always mostly like to hear that news.
Yeah.
Always,
fingers crossed.
yeah. For today, potentially tomorrow, and then we're drying up back to those 110-degree temperatures that we all know and love. How do you guys feel about those temperatures, by the way?
110's my limit, man.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Right. To me, is there really much difference between 106, 107, and 115?
Really?
I mean, it just sucks either
Yeah.
way.
That's interesting.
You're
Where
just
are you
standing in the
from?
sun. I'm from Houston, Texas. So
Okay.
no humidity, and we're all
It's-
happy.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I
Glass
think
half full.
110's the dividing line.
Right, that's
where
what I
it turns
said.
into pure hell.
Line in the
Thank
sand.
you. I agree.
It can't exist outside at 110.
Yeah.
You got to have your limit. You got to know your limits, right?
Yeah, you
110's
got to
mine.
bring Brian. Since you're going to adopt one of those dogs, you got to bring the dog.
Hey, you're watching Fox 10 Talks. I'm Trenton Hooker. That's Brian Webb. Isabella Fredrickson joining us today.
Hello.
She's like the glue.
Yes, she is.
She's
really
to this whole show.
Just the positivity, the radiance
Look at her
that
smile.
she is.
Come on.
I mean, she's wearing her sunshine yellow, just the brighten the room when she comes in.
Thank you, guys.
Love it.
Thank you.
And you're Gen Z too, right?
Millennials too. I remember we were going through that. Certainly around the time of 2008 Great Recession. That was fun.
Yeah.
But Gen X too. I know you've had your battles.
No, we were right on the money. Boom.
That was
They were golden.
Best generation,
golden.
really, huh?
No, wait a minute. Now, so, who's worse, millennials or Gen Zers?
Gen
X.
Zers.
I think
Gen X?
Gen X is
Gen X?
actually the problem, but they're pretending like they aren't the problem.
Yeah.
True.
And until you guys can accept that you're the problem, none of the problems will get fixed.
We gave you all those great 80s movies. We
Great
gave
80s
you
movies.
we gave you the mullet, stonewashed jeans. We gave you
Debt, unaffordable homes, high,
I see.
wars. I don't want to put too much on your plate here, Brian, but
We're taking the
Wars.
rants early
Whoa.
today. I love it.
Okay.
That's fair.
So there's a new, I guess, trend, or would you say it's just being recognized by everybody but Gen Z, that there's actually a face Gen Z makes
is.
called Gen Z stare?
Yes.
Explain that for us.
They're calling it the Gen Z stare. And on social media, the generations will battle. And this latest trend is the millennials are calling out the Gen Zers for having the Gen Z stare. And a lot of the millennials are saying you'll notice it mostly during basic interactions or customer service between anyone and a Gen Z person. So basically what it is if you're talking to a Gen Z person, and again, Gen Z is like 1997 to 2012, whether it's you're asking them how their day's going, or if it's like at a Starbucks, what do you want for your drink order? They stare at you blankly. They're like dead in the eyes. It's a dead blank stare. You're barely blinking. And when someone gives you that look, you kind of feel uncomfortable. You feel stupid. I mean, when someone gives you that look, you almost think like, did I pee my pants? Like, why are you looking at me so crazy? So
I'm trying to give you that look right now, but I'm Gen X, so I don't know how to do it.
it's just like, see, I can't do it. I don't do it. I'm too
Well, it's
smiley,
interesting
but
that you say it makes the person receiving it feel
Yes.
stupid. When I would think it just makes the person look stupid.
Yeah, but
as in they're not understanding what's going on.
yeah. What is the purpose behind it?
you know, my own theory is a lot of Gen Zers constantly have the phone in their face. And so when they're forced to have a face-to-face interaction, they're almost uncomfortable. So they don't smile and it's just straight.
well, did they
Like
answer,
stare.
did they
That
ever
was-
answer
I don't
the
like doing
question?
it.
Yeah. Did they ever
Yeah.
get you your coffee at Starbucks,
Yeah.
or they just let it hang there?
Well, I can speak to it because in college I was a barista. So
Okay.
everyone I was serving was my age, a Gen Zer, actually at Fillmore down the street. But, someone would come in and I'd say, hey, how are you doing today?
Classic Isabella.
And
chime.
yes.
Yeah.
And it would be a straight, just stare at me. And they wouldn't say anything until I then said, what can I get you to order? And they wouldn't address the
Okay,
hello.
okay.
So they need cues, kind of like Brian does.
Do
Brian,
you-
talk.
I miss a lot of social cues. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was talking about on the set.
Oh,
Do you think they're just contemplating all the problems that Gen Z is left, or Gen X is left for them?
I don't know. I didn't appreciate the looks.
getting hammered here because I own a
You
house.
knew it was going to be this topic. Right.
Yeah.
Set you up.
Yeah.
So it's the problem is in the greeting, not necessarily like they don't know how to handle the small talk
it's
of like.
beyond
Yeah.
the greeting. My little brother's 15, and I will talk to him all the time, and he will give me that same stare, whether it's a happy conversation, a mad conversation, a regular conversation. He just stares at me.
Your own brother.
Yeah.
So this sounds like a total lack of emotional intelligence.
Yes,
Just-
lack of emotional intelligence.
Not
That's
okay.
what it is.
Okay.
Do you think, obviously we've already mentioned the online part of this, living in more the virtual space, but this is also the same generation that went through COVID, lockdowns, masking.
Yeah.
And some of younger Gen Zers, during times where some of those skills were super important and critical during
Oh,
adolescence.
yeah, like severe delays when it comes to those social interactions. I mean, again, my brother, he was, I want to say in maybe 4th, 5th grade when the pandemic started.
Yeah.
And when those kids for 2 years were stuck in the house with the parents doing school online, you're missing out on 2 years of very critical social interaction. So they're all delayed.
Who would have thought that so many weird things came out of situations like that? And we need to get your brother on the show.
Right.
By the way,
We'll just give you guys the Gen Z stuff.
Michael, does this lead to us dating robots, which is my theory? That's right around the corner.
I just want to throw out older generations complaining about younger generations has happened since, I don't know, cavemen. They were probably like, Brock no make fire. When is he going to learn that? So as a person who is becoming an older generation rapidly, I've made it a point to be like, listen, I've heard people complain about millennials my whole life. I'm not going to complain about the younger generations. They're always different than us. Their music's going to suck compared to my music.
Right.
They don't know how to do things. But eventually, they're going to know how to do lots of things that I don't know. I'm going to struggle to like open up a picture of my phone at some point. So.
That's a nice way to put it.
And do you think they're going to work their way out of it? They're going to have to get out there eventually and meet people and go to job interviews and and make.
I know. I do agree
not.
with Mike though that this is a perpetual problem for every generation where the older generation will talk about these kids and what they're doing. They just need to get their act together. When it's just an ongoing issue where who's going to take care of the seniors when they need to be taken care of?
The robots.
That's what
the hope.
Thank you.
And speaking of robots, this is the perfect segue. So more and more kids are actually foregoing these friendships and relying on chat bots to make friends.
Is that real?
Yes.
Well, UK, they did a study and they're finding more kids turning to artificial intelligence for advice on everything, life, how they should make friends, how they should handle every complex emotional problem we talked about. So there was a study called Me, Myself, and AI. Wonderful, wonderful name. So they found 64% of kids use chatbots to help with everything from homework to how do I get a girlfriend. And they found that the majority of parents say that they're worried about it because most kids on this are actually making friends with the chat bot and foregoing real relationships. So future's here, it's arrived, and they're saying it's not real.
We've seen those movies where, they attach to the AI, that one called Her, I think. And then there's another one about actually dating a robot, and you're like, you start to,
They all end the same way.
They don't end well, but just a few years ago, I would have been rolling my eyes, and now I'm starting to go, well, yeah, maybe.
Well, who's invented AI, pushing it onto society, and making money off of it? Not the generation that's going to pay the price for it. Like it kind of all circles back to, I think the answer is, let's get rid of AI as a companion. I mean, people are going to use what's available. Right?
I don't think Mark Zuckerberg is Gen X, by the way. I think he's millennial.
He is
True,
definitely
he is
a millennial.
I have to claim that as my problem.
But you still got Elon, so you're good.
We got Elon.
It's true.
It's true.
Elon. Well, the other thing I thought was really interesting about the study, they said only a third of parents have actually talked to their kids about how to navigate AI and how to assess its truthfulness. Because the big problem they found was the hallucination factor, where these AI chatbots, when kids would ask them questions, would want to tell them the answer that they think the kids want. Instead, they would just make up the answer. To facts, to relationship issues, to whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not even real stuff that they're interacting with.
I'll make it short. I have a story about that. So, again, I was born in 2000, and I think I'm the last of the good generation because I didn't have this AI stuff come up until I was, like 21. But
these youngsters,
everyone younger than me, they have it. My poor brother keeps getting in trouble at school because he keeps using AI to cheat on his homework. But so my story is a good friend of mine back in Washington. She was fighting with one of her girlfriends. Like, her and her friend were having an issue. She felt disrespected and she was very upset. And I don't believe in sending text apologies. I think that should be an in-person conversation, if not a phone call. But Don't text it. So my friend, we'll call her Mia, and the girl she's fighting with, Abby sends Nia a very, very nice text, and it was the nicest apology text I'd ever seen. It was almost too good to be true. And so then Nia was like, wow, I forgive her. That was such a nice apology. I feel so heard. And then a couple days later, she went to ChatGPT and she said, can you write me an apology?
Same one.
The exact word for word apology came up in ChatGPT.
Wow.
That the friend had sent her. So they're no longer friends.
Yeah,
but
that kind of killed that.
Well, at least she always has the chat bot.
Yes.
That's the good news.
Well, I mean, a lot of apologies you don't really mean. You're just using it to gloss over
Words
we
were
just
said.
Need to move on.
Yes,
You
yes.
know?
Right.
So I feel like AI, great. Write an apology. I don't have to have any emotion behind it. If I'm texting it, I probably don't really mean it anyways.
Right.
You're not putting any thought into it at all.
Well, we no longer have to say thoughts and prayers. It's great. We have
True.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It could do. Yeah, it's true.
The one thing I thought was really interesting, I don't know if you've seen this on different social platforms, but especially on X, formerly Twitter, where somebody will say the simplest of posts, like 2 sentences, and then in the replies, it will be like, hey, chatbot, break this down. What does it mean? So people just foregoing that very minimal critical thinking of, what does this mean to me? I need to have the AI interpret it for me.
And who's to say the AI is going to give them a correct answer?
Exactly. It's pretty amazing. But
the AI is whatever humans make it. It's
Exactly.
The Grok issues that happened this week, like it's whatever the humans that designed it, whatever algorithm they're using. So it's still human knowledge. It's just a representation of who made that AI bot.
Grok and Elmo.
having a rough week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elmo went full Nazi. Grok did before. Yeah.
Keep it
rough.
to yourself, Elmo.
Now, of course, that was somebody hacking into Elmo's account, and they've issued a thorough apology for it, but still been an interesting
They did, or
chat
ChatGPT did?
That's a great question. We haven't put in the prompt.
Yeah.
Did you imagine Elmo's voice reading that?
Exactly. That's all I could think of.
That's a
yes.
tough.
Yes.
You could have ChatGPT do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We should have tested this out on the air if we were thinking.
Yeah.
Please, ChatGPT, give me an apology in the voice of Elmo for releasing the Epstein files.
I bet you it was very similar to the apology that Abby and Nia had.
Probably. We'll do that next Wednesday.
Love it.
Hey, welcome back to Fox 10 Talks. I'm Brian Webb with Trenton Hooker, and our main man, John Hook, is back. John, thanks for coming in, dude.
It's always good.
Yeah, I love having you here.
It's weird because people called me Hooker growing up.
Hooker.
So now I've got Hooker, so it's very odd.
And you do use it frequently.
No, I do.
Hey, Hooker!
Yeah,
Across
I do.
the room.
I do.
Hey, yep. Okay,
No, wait, you got
it.
a few other nicknames, too. I called you Captain Hook once. You said you'd heard that.
Yeah, J.D. Hayworth used to call me Captain.
Captain Hook.
When he worked here.
Captain.
Yeah.
It's a good name. I mean, it's a good,
There have been worse.
There are worse names.
S.H.,
sure.
you could fill in the blanks.
What's been going on with you? So you keeping an eye on these wildfires a little bit?
I was interested in talking to you guys about this because there's some very interesting chatter coming out of this about the wildfire in the Grand Canyon, and whether this might put a damper on doing these controlled burns, which are very important, even though this one got away from them. So there are some people saying, boy, we really hope this doesn't stop controlled burns, because controlled burns are really, really important. And they learned this lesson in, 1910.
Right.
Yeah.
With the great fires that swept through Idaho and
the Big Burn.
The Big Burn, exactly. And from that was born the 10 a.m. rule, right? Mm-hmm. That if you see it, snuff it out before 10 a.m.
Yep.
Right?
Winds pick up.
That's not a great way to manage. And and California found this out with the Palisades fire. So there are people in the fire community who, how did it end up mismanaged where it claimed the lodge and 80 other structures?
Well, the governor had one of her key points that she pressed on Sunday was the timing of the fire, right? With the hottest, driest part of June into July. And just that's the danger of when we choose to do controlled burns. Could these get away? Yeah. I know that there was the warm fire that we had covered earlier in the week.
That's 02?
06. And right about the same area, though.
Yeah, right.
And again, that was a lightning-caused fire that originally was chose to do like a controlled burn mixed-use fire to let some of that undergrowth go. But the end result was almost 1,000 people that need to be evacuated, getting dangerous close to loss of life, and a lot of critical habitat for endangered species lost. And that had a report from the federal government that found that was the wrong call. You can't make it, especially in that dry part in that area. And kind of like what you mentioned, where those winds can pick up and really get out of hand.
And they shifted on them up at the Grand Canyon.
Right.
They were actually getting ready to do a back burn back into the fire, which they typically do. My question, I guess I would have is, there should have been a tripwire in my mind where you say, if it crosses that road, if it crosses that forest road, if it crosses our burnout operation or our fire line, we got to call in the tankers, because we've got the Grand Canyon Lodge up here. We've got structures. I would have thought there'd be a tripwire safely, a buffer where they could have had time to move in assets if they needed to.
Do you think we are forgetting and having to relearn lessons we already knew?
Yes, I do. That's a great way of putting it.
Well, you mentioned the response, the earlier one, but can you explain that, John, where it was the National Park Service, not the Forest Service, that was managing it initially?
That's right. Yeah. And I think, again, you have a lightning strike, so that's a natural occurrence. So this is a perfect opportunity to do a controlled burn. It naturally happened. We're going to let it do its thing, try to control it. But fire, man, I mean, when the winds shift, and they saw this in the Palisades, with the growth they had up there, there was no stopping it. Same in Lahaina. There was no stopping that fire. They can talk about water all they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing was going to stop those fires.
So help me on this one. So lightning strikes, the fire starts. The theory is that they were just keeping an eye on things for too long.
Yeah, and it was moving away from.
Grand Canyon Lodge.
Yes. So they were going to let it move that way, and then it shifted.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Okay. And then not enough was done, or not enough resources in place to stop it.
You would have thought that if, again, a tripwire where you go, if it does go the opposite way, we got to be ready to handle that. Now, we may find out assets were elsewhere. We don't know. But man alive.
And that's part of, the demand for the federal investigation into that. Yeah. Will be very interesting to see what comes out of that. But I know now it's a lot different story in how many personnel that are attacking it right now with the U.S. Forest Service in charge.
All over it.
Yeah.
Can you talk, John, about the controlled fire aspect and why that theory, why that came about as a way to keep fires from getting out of control?
I think they discovered that if we let forests grow, and if environmentalists completely say we're not logging, we're not thinning, we're not doing anything, when you have a fire, it's going to be even bigger. So the adage among the firefighting community, wildland firefighter, burn it now or big burn later.
Okay.
So it's like you've got to have fire to fight fire. That's where it comes from.
Right.
And you need to do it in controlled ways, and you need to thin brush, and you need to do all those things. And in this case, this is the second time this structure's burned down. Yeah. It burned down in 1932, I think 4 years after they built it. They built it in 28 originally, I think.
Yes.
And it burned down 4 years later. So we've been through this before.
I just looked at pictures of it. I'd never seen it. I've never been to the North Rim.
I have not either.
Just gorgeous. I mean, just
beautiful.
heartbreaking to see.
Well,
but Arizona's got some victories in this battle. They've done some stuff in Pine. They've done some stuff in Payson. They've done stuff in Flagstaff, especially with thinning. We were on the air one night when a fire was burning off of I-17 near Flagstaff. And when I looked at it from Skyfox, I knew that area had been thinned. And I said, watch this.
Right.
You're going to see this fire lay down. And it hit these strand of trees where there was space.
I believe that was
fire laid down right on the ground.
Right, by NAU, and it was getting a little close to that.
That was
amazing.
Perfect textbook management.
And they sent BK and I up there one time. I think it's near Flagstaff, where they were chewing up these trees with these machines.
You mean after they cut them? Or?
No, this machine would go at a tree and just gobble it from the top down.
Wow.
And just and it was gone. And then they go to the next tree, and it was part of the thinning process. But
And they were they targeting older trees, trying to get rid of the old?
It's been a year now. They had their reasons at what they picked. But
that is fascinating.
And the equipment was really impressive. But they admitted, there are only so many trees that these teeth in the machine can take, and that's not cheap. You got to keep replacing these teeth, they called them, because they wouldn't chop down the tree like that. It ate it from the top down.
How high could it go? Do you recall?
It was like a crane. I'd say
100 feet,
a little less, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing 50-ish, 60.
Brilliant.
But all that sounds so complicated to me, though. How do you know? So you're getting the theory is to get the brush down, new brush down low, right?
And
it
lessen
just
the
fires
of
low.
the forest.
Out of the crown zone.
Yes.
Okay. Because when it gets up top, then we have trouble.
Crowning fires are wicked.
Yes.
And they move so quick.
Yes. And a lot of these conifer species, too, in order for their cones to open for the seeds to regenerate, they need intense heat and wildfire almost to get that. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
But seeing the response too, it's wow, it's wild. And we were talking about it last week, but my wife and I, we went up to Flagstaff a couple weeks ago, and this was during, I believe, the fires that were kind of by Cottonwood and whatnot. But seeing the crews come fresh off the line, then going by San Francisco Street and Flagstaff, just a roundup of applause, people on the street giving those wildland firefighters. It was really neat to see that. And gosh, just brave souls.
Funny story. We were on a fire up in, I think it was up in Payson. Well, you know what it was? It was a dude fire. It was a dude fire, which I covered.
Which was turn of the...
No, it was 90.
Okay.
It was on the hottest day ever in Phoenix, the 122 day. Wow. Same day, when it killed the fire crew from Perryville.
So you thought that was your story for the day, but...
Well, yeah. I mean, and I wasn't working here then. I was working in Tucson. Yeah. But coming out of there, you talk about applauding the firefighters. We're in turnouts because they used to put us in firefighting gear to go cover this stuff.
Wow.
And we went into the Zane Grey cabin, hiked in, and we actually had a slurry drop on top of us.
Oh, no.
And they told us, if this happens, hug a tree, because that stuff will come out in clumps like bowling balls, and it'll break your neck.
Oh, my God.
Because they used to, I believe, put the powder in and then flood it with a fire hose.
Interesting.
But it would come out in clumps.
Right.
So he said, hey, everybody, hug a tree, hug a tree. Stuff is coming down, tearing the canopy up.
Oh, my God.
So we're all geared up, and we go to a 7-Eleven after this, right? We walk in, and this guy comes up and goes, and I'm with my photog, Chris Peterson. I don't know if you knew Chris. He goes, "God bless you, firefighters." And I go, "I'm not a firefighter, sir." "You aren't? What are you?" I go, "I'm a reporter." "Oh,
yeah, get out of here.
Not much has changed.
So, lesson learned, just go with it. Just go with it next time.
I should have gone with it. He was going to buy his stuff.
Yeah, I bet he was.
Oh, my
the house,
I remember seeing guys, the hotshot crews just coming off the lines, and they look, poor guys and gals, look like zombies. I mean, they just were so exhausted.
It's incredible
and
work.
Just head to toe with soot and dirt, and just like
and you're breathing
unimaginable.
this stuff in.
Yeah.
This is really
Yeah.
hazardous work. So bless them for doing it.
And then we talked to Ashley Loeza about, normally you think rain, a little monsoon might help, but maybe not. It's coming with winds. It's
And lightning.
in lightning and
Yep.
And then after these big burns, too, you have the mudslide risk as well.
Sure, of course. Flagstaff dealt with that because they put in that warning system.
You've been you've seen a lot of these fires, John. What's the tipping point here? Is there a tipping point on the West Coast where, I don't know, something needs to change?
Oh, I think the Palisade fire got everybody's attention.
Okay.
There's a real push to try to thin, to try to get people to create defensible space. I have had firefighters tell me, wildland firefighters, look, if we get to a choice of several homes and one of them didn't clear,
really,
we're going to let that one go.
Yeah.
Yes, and I mean they don't want to make a big deal out of that. They're like, we've got to pick our poison, and if they've got defensible space, we've got a much better chance.
Not to be too critical here, I don't know, but doesn't the Grand Canyon Lodge know that? Or is it just too much?
I don't know about were there a lot of trees around that structure, because that would be a problem.
You would think,
Right.
You would think there would be for the aesthetics of it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I
that
guess
they wouldn't have followed the protocol.
or
Somebody's
the
got
fire.
to ask that question.
Somebody's gonna ask that question, or maybe sometimes fires are just too much, even for the
Oh,
defensible
sure.
space.
And in the
right.
Palisades, I think that's the case.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
what people are saying is after that was, that could have been really helped if they had done an aggressive thinning and removal of brush.
Right.
That
Hey, you're watching Fox 10 Talks. I'm Trenton Hooker. This is Brian Webb. Michael Obie joining us behind the camera. And Robby Baker
Robby.
on with us. So Big shakeup on the Suns team.
We knew it was coming for a while, but Bradley Beal is officially no longer a member of the Phoenix Suns. The team buying him out today for reportedly about $100 million.
Wow.
So he had about $110 million left on his contract. And for the Suns to make this work financially, get out of the luxury tax, they needed him to basically forego roughly $13.5 million, basically say, okay, I'll just not make that money. Buy me out for about $100 million, and then reports are that he has now agreed to a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers.
Do they
and he'll still make that money. The Suns still have to pay him, but they're paying him to not play here.
Do they have to? Matt Ishbia sits down at his desk and writes a check, like my mom still does. Bradley Beal, $100 million.
Right. I imagine it's worse than that because we'll go to the store, go to Costco, whatever, buy something, and we'll see that deduction on our banking app that will say minus 100, minus 50. Minus 100 million?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, when this all happened, I mean, I think Suns fans need to kind of remember, basketball fans too, all these moves that they made in a vacuum made sense. When obviously in hindsight, trading half the organization for Kevin Durant did not work out. At the time, for myself, personally, I was like, oh my gosh, they got Kevin Durant. Yeah. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. We have two Olympians, two superstars. Yes. Kevin Durant kind of a little bit on the tail end of his prime, but he's still he's Kevin Durant.
Right.
So it made sense. And then when you go into the next offseason and they end up making the Bradley Beal trade, yes, they gave up a ton of draft capital, but basically the only player was Chris Paul. And there was a lot of thought that Chris Paul was probably not going to come back anyways. There was an option on his contract that would need to get exercised. So you're basically looking at, we're trading Chris Paul, who is probably not going to be here, for Bradley Beal. And you're like, oh my gosh, how are teams ever going to stop Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant? This is going to be an unstoppable offense. And it crashed spectacularly.
Yeah. and not, okay, now help me with this. It crashed. My memory is, first of all, no offense to Bradley Beal, seems like a nice guy and a very talented player. I met his wife. She was delightful. But I thought to myself, he's a lot like the Booker position, A. And then didn't he already come with a long list of health issues?
He had an injury history, if you will. And then obviously that was an issue here as well. He got hurt a decent amount. But the roster construction is really obviously what came back to bite the Suns, because the way the rules work now with the luxury taxes and the different aprons and everything, I mean, basically cutting Bradley Beal, or for cutting him, releasing him, whatever today you want to call it, they will save, I think it was like $150 million in the luxury tax next year, even though they're paying him to not be here.
Wow.
That's how much they were over the luxury tax. So when they came here, this was kind of the final example of like the big three in the NBA. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work anymore with how the luxury tax and the aprons are set up and everything, that you need to, I mean, look at Oklahoma City. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they have a lot of really good players. But other than Shai, he's probably their only, superstar, right? Okay. And the era of like when Miami had LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, it just doesn't work anymore. And the Suns were kind of the last proof of that, because other than those three guys, you have to basically pay the minimum for everybody else. You can't spend any more money when you're over the luxury tax. And then when you have two guys that basically play the same position, and Kevin Durant, who is also just he's bigger, but he's a scorer, the roster just didn't make sense.
Human beings follow each other. So now is everybody going to follow OKC and try to do that model after we tried to do the 3 superstar model?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, the Suns were kind of one of the original of that, if you will, because that's how they made the finals. True. That was a team that was largely drafted, and then right before they made their run to the finals, they made a trade with Oklahoma City to bring in Chris Paul, and he was kind of the last piece to kind of bring it all together.
We should have won that final, man. We were up, weren't we? We were up
2-0.
2-0.
But as you were saying, that Beal is only really one of 2 players in the NBA who has no trade clause.
As far as I know, it's Beal and LeBron James, I believe, are the only 2 players that have a no trade clause. And that's kind of what happened. I mean, it's all just reports. We don't know entirely what happened with the way NBA insiders work and stuff. But, I mean, it seemed like at the deadline there was a desire to make a Beal trade and bring Jimmy Butler here, because there was Jimmy Butler was making a lot of posts on social media. At one point, the Heat actually just kind of sent him away and just said, You're causing problems. Just you go away for a little bit, and then they end up making a trade with Golden State. Yeah. Jimmy Butler ends up going to the Warriors. But if you're just connecting the tea leaves, it would imagine that Bradley Beal did not want to get traded to Miami, and that is why that trade, because those contracts would have matched out. They made about the same salary and everything. It would have worked, but just connecting dots, that trade never came to fruition, and all parties but one seem to have been on board for that trade.
Do you think things like that are more often they don't want to go to that particular team or coach or the city itself, or maybe combo?
That's hard to say. I honestly think, and to your point, you said you met Bradley Beal's wife and she was great. I mean, I know Suns fans feel a certain way about Bradley Beal with the way everything went here. I never had an issue with him. Same, I think I was on a couple weeks ago when the Kevin Durant trade happened. I said, of all the stuff people say about Kevin Durant, he was great with us in the media. He was available. He was very insightful after games, especially the playoff losses. Always made himself available when there was big things to be talked about. And, for the most part, Beal was the same way. There were certain points last year where things kind of really started to go sideways. The team just didn't make him available as much, but I can't fault anybody for that because there was a point where he was benched. There was a point where he was not playing, and what's he going to say anyway? So I don't fault him for that. And like I said, a lot of it was injuries, why he just kind of didn't, maybe reach his potential here. But for him now, he ends up now with a Clippers team that has James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and Ivan Zubac. So that is a very potent team in the West, and he fits better there because James Harden's your point guard, Bradley Beal is your 2 guard. Kawhi plays the 4, so that fit is better for him.
He'd come off the bench?
No, I imagine he'll start.
Okay.
I imagine he'll
At
start.
what
shooting
spot,
guard?
Though? Shooting guard.
Yeah, because James Harden's kind of their point guard.
Right,
Yeah.
Well, I do think the topic is interesting about, what is it that makes players want to get traded? Is it the city? Is it the team? Is it what? And going back to James Harden, I just remember for so long where when he was on the Rockets and they would do well, they would get in the playoffs. Things were great. Things were awesome. They would lose the playoffs, and then James Harden would talk about how much he hates the nightlife in the city of Houston. Can't wait to get out of here. Can't wait to go to New York, and it's going to be awesome there.
Yeah, Brooklyn, and then Philly, and then now he's in Los Angeles.
Right.
Clippers.
So,
but
hopefully gets his wish.
The Beal thing, like I said, it's crazy to think that they're going to pay him about $100 million to just not be here anymore.
Man.
If you consider the other options, though, one of the options was they just keep him and say, don't show up.
Yeah.
Just, we'll pay you. We don't want the drama. You don't fit with us, but we'll pay you for the year, but don't report to the team.
Boy.
That was one option. And then the other option is obviously you try to integrate him into this team, but all the moves they made is everything the front office told us they were going to do. Get younger, get more defensive-minded, add a lot more athleticism. It never really made sense for Bradley Beal to stay here. So the way that they do this now is it's called the waive and stretch. So basically they've waived him, and they can stretch out the remaining amount of that money over 5 years. So it'll basically be $20 million, give or take, on the cap every year for 5 years. That they'll just be kind of dead money. It counts against their salary cap, but he's not here. But that gets them under. They're not even in any of the luxury tax right now. So that you could talk about the aprons and everything for hours. But this unlocks a ton of different trades because they couldn't make certain trades before. They couldn't sign free. I mean, they were so far over before. They basically could do nothing to add players to the roster. And now getting under the luxury tax entirely, they've unlocked they can do everything that any team in the NBA could do now, which is huge as they try to reshape and refinagle this
All right,
roster.
hold on. Let's back up a little bit. Michael, help me out with this one. So I think he just said there's some way that you can do things badly enough where you get paid and your boss just says, don't come in. Is that what I heard? Is it?
I think me and Brian are on the same page, and in just in case our bosses are watching right now, I would just like to formally put an offer out there for $100 million. I will disappear, no questions asked. I won't even feel a sense of rejection.
Okay,
you won't even know I exist. I won't play for another team for
right.
But we have to do something to get to the point where they are willing to take that offer. Is it like we come in limping, maybe?
Well, I can't shoot. I can't play defense.
The problem with this scenario, though, is that we would still be over the luxury tax with John Hook's salary.
That's true. Big time.
That's the problem.
That's tough.
He's the 800-pound gorilla.
Exactly.
That'd be a wave and stretch provision.
That'd be I wish he was here for that.
I will say, too, it's where I just, not to defend Bradley Beal, but it's worth saying, too, that I don't fault him, especially as a man, for what happened here. It didn't work. I mean, it would be I can't think of another example off the top of my head, but the trade, it just didn't work. But I never got the impression that he gave up on them or he forced this. This was the only way to make all parties whole again was kind of to do this.
It's like bringing in the wrong singer for a band, and it's like, you're a great singer, you just don't really work for
yes,
heavy
there you go. There you
like
go.
the fifth Beatle, right? They had the guy.
Well, the original Paul McCartney. We can't forget. We want to get into that, but
and then they brought in Ringo,
right?
And John Lennon said, "Pete is a better drummer. Ringo is a better Beatle." Boom.
So
the rest
I didn't
know any of
Ringo.
this. Yeah. This is a
so who
I
is?
want to get into how this show started.
That's
but
right.
Brian was not originally the scheduled talent for this.
Who is the Ringo of this program? I think is what we're trying to answer.
That's probably pretty clear.
Do you want to be the Ringo, or you want to be John or Paul?
I just want to be in there somewhere. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm just happy
Still
to be
a Beatle.
included.
Yeah, me too. Can I ask real quick? Perfect scenario. How long till the Suns are contenders again?
When are we back? When are we back?
When are we back, Robbie?
Probably a couple years.
Yeah.
I would think, because this next year is probably going to rely a lot on the rookies and the young guys that they drafted and added, which they should see what they have, develop them. This is probably not going to be a playoff team next year. If they make the playoffs, great, but I think that is unfair expectation. The extension Booker signed keeps him here for, I think, 5 more years, and I think the thought is the tail end of that kind of window, that extension, is when 3 to 4 years of drafting, developing, and keeping add young talent, because Booker's gonna be making $75 million a year.
Wow.
Pretty soon. The only way that works financially is it's kind of like in the NFL when you pay your quarterback, you need to have rookies contribute because you can't pay anybody else. Devin Booker's going to be eating up like 30% of your salary cap.
Bradley Beal got more than that just to go sit on the couch and eat Cheetos.
He's going to the Clippers now.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, I think realistically, I would say probably 2 to 3 years, and not for the playoffs, but 2 to 3 years until they're like making deep playoff runs is probably fair.
So
also a new coach to make his mark.
A new coach needs to work his way in. And, I mean, new front office, everything. So
yeah, but how many coaches? Jeez, are we going to go
4 and 4 years, right?
So we got the Suns. The Cardinals, and maybe we lost hockey. We got the Diamondbacks. We're all eyes on ASU.
Mercury are killing it.
Mercury, good
right.
point.
The Mercury have a chance to make a run at the end of this or beginning of the fall, and then all Valley hopes really lie on the shoulders of Kenneth Dillingham, pretty much right now.
Wow.
Boom. After all those years of us talking smack about ASU football, boom.
This is it. They're our hope right now.
Thanks, Robbie. You the man.
Appreciate it.